So this is the Cioks SOL. I plan on just pushing it down there. It fits. And the only thing I need to do is put some soft Velcro here, I think. And perhaps 1 or 2 dabs of the more harsh part of the Velcro. So if I push it down, it would sort of make sure that it doesn't move or fall out or something like that. It sits more or less if I just push it down like this, but that isn't enough. So cut up some soft Velcro, place it here. It's a good distance from that one, so it doesn't need to be, but I don't want to crowd out the top part of the board if I don't need to. And it sits safe and sound down here. Yeah, like that. And then we take this one, and I would only need a dab or so with Velcro. Something like that, I think. I have left rubber feet on the pedal. Sorry, on the power brake, but I don't think they will interfere with the adhesiveness of these two. So I would be able to do something like, yeah, it sticks. For this one, we'll see, it needs to go something like this at the moment. I might buy a angled type of connector to this one and cut that one off and redo it, but for now this is more of a way to make sure that everything reaches where, see, this won't do. It will do for now, but not for later. And this one goes, let's see, in here. Need to fixate that somewhere. And then I'll just cut this one short and attach it to over there. So now, with the cables attached, just to make sure that we have enough length, I will, don't forget this one, I will measure out with some additional length, so I can reach the connector that sits there, sort of like that. So I can cut it somewhere around here and pull it through. It's rubber, so let it, instead of making a hole too large, make it a bit tighter and pull the cable through. That's a much better solution to have. These are the strands you have. Ground, super important. Always leave the ground cable a bit longer than the other ones for safety. If the cable gets pulled out for some reason or another, that should be the last one to leave the jack. Come on now. So here's the main part of the powercon connector. This one has, instead of soldering them, I just need to screw them. They are marked, presumably, I hope so. I'm looking for markings. Otherwise I need to look it up, but anyways, that's the easy part, I think. And here you have the locking function of the connector. This is depending on the cable you're using. We'll start with this one, and I would presume that we're going with the white one because it's narrower than this one. And then we have the housing that goes on that way, like that. Then we have the connector over here. So all in all, let's see if I push that down. Then we have a lock, I think, yeah. Looks good. Yeah. Okay, so what we need to do, we need to maintain that the grounding is a bit longer than the other ones. Do that by snipping some of it off. Something like that. Could even go longer if you want to. Because this one get yanked, so perhaps. Could be at least. So we wouldn't want that one to...
Just nibbling on the insulating layer. So when I finally pull it off, it doesn't stick like it does right now. That's more something of that order. I also kind of twist a bit. I'll also put on some, keep them together.
Could also solder some small amount. That would also keep them together. We don't want any frayed edges, something like that. This last one doesn't want to cooperate. Something like that. Makes them easier to attach. So we have all the necessary parts on the cable already. So what we need to do now is to attach this one. For that I need to have
a functional table, so I'll do like this. And you can just... Oh, look at that one. Interesting. Doesn't want to stick really. There. Not sufficient though. Like that. And then we have the grounding. Much appreciated to have. Be sure that it doesn't travel out when I twist. Like so. And sit there, you sit there. Good. And we just need to have the rest of the components. Let's see. Yeah, okay. well does it stack? Like that. Super. And then we'll just grab this one. Look at the configuration. Does it just pop in, or do we need to do something else? Seems that we need to do something in order of getting it, sorry. All the way down there. Yeah, that looks about as expected.
Remember, I used the smaller one of the to really tighten up on the cable end over here. Like that, all the way to the bottom. The locking is working, and this is how you assemble a powercon connector. Now I have power for my pedal board. Now I need to start soldering the output jacks. And now I'm just cannibalizing on a couple of cables to get this angled type of connection or jack. I need that one to measure out. I've cut some cables here, so I'm able to run it wherever on the board I want to have it. Independent, I don't need to do more new cables just because I move the pedals around on the pedal board. The other one I just cannibalized by cutting it off, and I'm gonna solder it to that one with some of these on each and every one of them. I didn't buy 3 of those, so I need to make do with the shrink wrap I have here. So one cannibalized cable coming up.
Bring this part out a bit, like that. And the same goes for this one. Sort of like that.
Make sure to put on the shrink tube first. Then do some unwrapping. Make sure not to cut all the way through. That wouldn't be fun. Like that. See if this is enough, or if we need to do it a bit more. Then this one has an inner core. That's something, I presume. Yeah. Then we have the innermost, where the actual signal is traveling. There we have it. Okay, so there's a tip ring sleeve configuration for these, but since I'm not going to use it in a stereo configuration per jack, I just need the tip for the signal and the ground, of course. So I figured out which one. It actually says tip, and the ground is fairly easy to recognize given how it looks. So my next concern is just finding the solder. So I'm gonna solder the tip to start with. Making sure that I get a good connection. Not heat it too much so the whole thing just melts on me. Don't want that. See if I can get a good connection with this over here. This can be a bit more tricky, I think. Sorry. Did I get a good connection? I don't think so. Need to fix it a bit more. Now we're talking. I don't want the whole thing to melt on me. That wouldn't be fun. Now we just need to solder that one. 2. Let's see if we can bend it somewhat. Now presumably the shielding will try to steal a lot of the heat I'm adding with the soldering iron. So I'm not expecting it to stick as good at it as, and I don't want to overheat it. Hope that works. Okay, that's one. I can go ahead and do the other one.
And the smell is fabulous. Smells like I've melted something, which I most likely have. That's not good. Hopefully it doesn't have an implication on the actual functionality. That would be sad. Now I'm trying to ease this cable is a bit different. Not that it matters too much, but still. Like that. Same goes here. I'll start with I need to add the shrink before. On the other hand, another cable, I already had it. Like that. Try to ease this piece of cable or strands into something like that. That's the easy part. The other part's much more cumbersome. Let's see if this works. Much better than the first one. Practice makes perfect. Let's see, I don't think I need all these. That's what you're getting when you have damaged tools. And there's a strand poking. Try to pull it in and twist it and turn it and send it off to here.
I also need to add some sort of stress relief to these both cables. I had zip ties that I can, zip tie anchors that I can put here that would work as a stress relief for both of these. If I leave them as is and just add the shrinkage, then sooner or later I would presume that I start to have issues with these connections.
That's not something I want, so let's try to avoid that. Let's use that one too. Pressure of some sort. Just make sure that stays over there where I want it. I'm also supposed to be able to reach over there. Same time as I'm soldering this. See if I can do it like that. Yeah, that works. Putting some pressure on that. Same time adding some holes there. See, did it connect? It did not. I see. I have a hard time seeing at the moment. If this works better. I have no idea. Let's push it down on the inner side of the, like that. And now I can do some work on it. Like that. I think that works quite good actually. Yeah, that's something going at least. Okay.
I made this little contraption, and it's a nice tip for you who does your own cables. In this case, I took a 6mm drill bit and made an angled hole into the board or a piece of plank or whatever you may have. Instead of drilling it straight in, I put it at an angle so it sits by itself. And since the shaft of the plug is a bit bigger than 6mm, you can sort of wiggle around a bit before you pull the drill bit out. That way it will fit snugly. That way it sticks and I'm able to keep it in place while I solder the cable to it. I must also make sure to have the hilt or the cover of the plug. Otherwise, I'm not able to it will dangle in by itself. So that's not a good solution. I need to find that one too. Let's see. I found shielding, the stress relief, and that inner plastic tubing that I can press over everything so I don't get any shorts. Electrical shorts.
Let's see now if I'm able to hold this table. Yes, I am. Like that. I have that one on. And shielding off. That. Sort of like that. Put all together. Yeah, there it is. It should fit somewhere around there, so I need to cut off half a centimeter or something like that. Do that. No worries. Got some cleaning to do later on, but the end goal is near. So, made no frame, loose ends. I could, of course, put on some solder on the end. Just raise that one. Stick it in there. Sorry. Can't get that apart. That, I think. Tight thing right here. There was a slightly tighter. Create a little hook. Stick it in there. Like so. Yeah, that will work, I think. Let's see if I know it. Bring up the guns. Do something like that, I think. And do some soldering on the underside. Meanwhile, I can just press it together so I don't have that issue at least. Like so. A bit brittle, but it works. All loose strands, don't like them, but there they are. And anything is possible, like that. That might keep it in place while I do my work on it. Just to get some better connectivity. See if that's, yeah, thank you. Like that, that's what we want. Thank you. Give it a rest. Also neat thing to have this plastic covering on top. Still, we don't want no phrase. But this should look nice, I think. It looks. I scared myself there. Like this, and like that. That should work.
Okay, things are starting to heat up. I've made a check that my powercon cable is working, and that both of these start up when I power it on. So that has already been fixed, and made sure that I did all the connections correctly. Nice. What I usually do on my previous pedal board, at least, is to have my tuner and wireless system up on the right part of the pedal board. That's where I seldom use it. I use it for tuning, of course, but otherwise it just stays there. So that's a good starting point for getting on the pedal board, so to speak. That would be my input. Somewhere along the line, I will have this, the ACS one. I don't think it will be the, so to speak, output last in line of pedals on the pedal board. I think I would like to have either my reverb. I think that the R1 might be the last pedal in the order. Both of these work really well together, but I haven't decided yet. I think it would be reasonable to have the reverb as the last one. I could also have the echoes but not necessarily. We'll see. I would like to run a wet-dry configuration. So if I run through a mono setting, I think I would run it through the wet section and dial down a couple of settings. Otherwise, besides that, I think I would like to run it with a Fender type of configuration on the dry channel, and perhaps a Vox setting on the wet channel. But I mean, options are available, so there might be that I run the reverb last, the delay on the wet part. So and given that the connections are over here, a reasonable thing to do is perhaps to set the R1 over here, so it's closer to the outputs, and the delay, I mean, I can run the cables wherever I want to, but I would also like to be able to tap or bypass the delay. So I would like to have it easily available. And what I've learned is that the tap button and bypass button are made for people, right-footed people. Anyways, incoming, outgoing, second before outgoing, the tremolo always works nice on a wet, completely wet. The combination of a dry signal and the wet signal with the tremolo is really nice. That needs to go before the echo. See if we can't do like this. I don't need to pull I can just put it there for now. I need to have the ACS pretty close. I will not be shutting down the reverbs as much, but if I need to, then it should be somewhere around there. I want some spacing between be able to press on the boost. Then we need the bypass, I think. I run that in and out sometimes. I'm not so, I don't use the compressor so much. It happens, but not so much that I feel the need to have it easily available. It can still be on board, but a bit far away. The tap tempo, I usually put it down in the corner. I run it to over here, down to the left. I run it usually to the tremolo. Not sure if I want to run it to the echoes. Either way, if I put it down in the left corner of the board, I think I can do something like that. Left corner of the board. That would mean that I can, if I want to, run it to either the tremolo or the echoes, depending on what suits best. But have it there to tap it in each and every time is nice. This space would be nice to have for the volume pedal. It can be over here. I noticed that the slant of the pedal board is a bit higher than my previous pedal board. So in the upmost position, I already feel it in my hand when I do it like that. The upmost position, it's a bit of a strain on the old man's body. I'll put it there for now. I need to have my distortion. Thankfully, we in combination with ACS1, the things I've tried, I really like the getting a bit dirty on the ACS1 and just add the drive when I need to. I used to have 2 drives, but then I didn't have the ACS1, so this leaves room for another friend of mine, the fuzz pedal. That's a nice one. Not full on fuzz, but to have it a bit gritty, a bit dirty perhaps. But I'll set it always on, and I can choose whether or not to add the distortion. The distortion slot is always open for combinations or switching out a couple of pedals. The distortion, I usually run this. I really like this one. It's very dynamic and suits my playing. However, I also recognize that I miss a spot for yet another pedal, and it's the pitchfork. That one goes after the Qtron, but it can sit somewhere else on the pedal board. But if I want to use it, I use it on the to get more of a baritone guitar sound, or beef my regular sound up a bit. Or even so, I also, as it sits right now, I can also set it to the higher pitch, the higher octave, and set it to the higher octave and run it full on to add a completely different sound to the overall sound of the band. So I use it a lot. I recently, I haven't tried so much with the expression pedal, but I saw someone use it with an expression pedal, and it's really, really smooth. So it's not at all stepping through the different settings. It's found it quite nice actually, but I need to fit it somewhere, and it's getting crowded. Let's see if I can put it over here somehow. See if I can squeeze them together. This could work. Easy to reach. The Qtron, the ACS1, the tremolo, the drive, the volume pedal, the tap. What I need to have is perhaps my looper. What the looper would do, you have input here, output there, and 2 separate loops. You don't need to power it. The only thing you get with power is the thing lights up. There might be some more functions like a buffer or something like that, but it can, if you add power to it, you can also have power coming out from the pedal. It might be useful, but I think I'm fully stocked with the power from the 2 power bricks I'll be using. So this could make it possible to run either the fuzz or the distortion, or both even.
You know, remember, less is more. And I always said, how can that be? How can less be more? It's impossible. More is more.
If I have this one, I don't need to be able to push on the distortion, so it could sit down here somewhere, I think. What happens if I... That's one way to do it, and I can move that a bit over there. this could follow along. These two. If I put it there, still always on. And that would open up for the question whether, sorry, if this is the setting, if this is the placement of the pedals, where would I split the signal?